The southern Indian state of Kerala has shut down amid violent protests after two women made history by entering a prominent Hindu temple. One person was killed in clashes on Wednesday. Schools across the state are closed and public transport has been suspended. The Sabarimala temple was historically closed to women of menstruating age, defined as between 10 and 50. The Supreme Court revoked the ban in September, which prompted outrage. Although women tried to enter the temple since the ruling, they were forced to turn back because of massive protests. On Wednesday, Bindu Amini
40
and Kanaga Dadam
39
entered the shrine on dawn and became the first women to do so. This sparked fresh protests across the state, and right-wing groups demanded a statewide shutdown. The two women had tried to enter the temple once before, in December, but were prevented from doing so by protesters. As news of their entry into the temple spread, violence broke out in several cities and towns as groups of protesters clashed with police, who fired tear gas to disperse crowds. Police told news agency AP that at least 15 people were injured after protesters hurled stones at them. According to local media reports, around 100 people have been arrested by police in one district, where Ahmedabad assaulted a woman police officer. More arrests across the state are expected, police told BBC Hindi's Imran Qureshi. Several journalists were also attacked in the protests that engulfed the state capital. Through the February, Indian Airlines have issued warnings to passengers traveling to Kerala. The Supreme Court decision to let women worship at the Sabarimala shrine came after a petition argued that the custom banning them violated gender equality. But India's ruling party, the Hindu Nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, has argued that the ruling is an attack on Hindu values. The issue has become increasingly contentious in the run-up to India's general election, scheduled for April and May. Critics have accused Prime Minister Narendra Modi of pursuing a religiously divisive agenda to cut the BJP's mostly Hindu support base. Hinduism regards menstruating women as unclean and bars them from participating in religious rituals, but most temples allow women to enter as long as they are not menstruating, rather than banning women in a broad age group from entering at all. Protesters have consistently argued that the court ruling goes against the wishes of the temple's deity, Lord Yapa. They say that the ban on women entering Sabarimala is not about menstruation alone. It is also in keeping with the wish of the deity, who is believed to have laid down clear rules about the pilgrimage to seek his blessings. According to the temple's mythology, Lord Yapa is an adult bachelor who has taken an oath of celibacy, and hence, women of a certain age are not allowed into the temple. Two other women had managed to reach the temple's premises in October, with more than 100 police protecting them from stone throwing protesters as they walked the last 5-kilometer stretch to the shrine. But they were forced to turn around after a standoff with devotees. Just meters from Sabarimala sanctum, two Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with cords to their necks, the country's interior ministry said. Both bodies were found near the town of Imleo in the High Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Templ. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths, the Interior Ministry statement said. The United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group Al-Shabaab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28. It said in a statement. This were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 40 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The United States has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia since Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government, the United States military said. Alongside our Somali and international partners, we are committed to preventing Al-Shabaab from taking advantage of safe havens from which they can build capacity and attack the people of Somalia, the United States Africa Command said. Al-Shabaab, which is linked to Al-Qaeda, has not yet commented on the latest strikes. Somalia-based security think tank the Higher Institute said in a report published in November that Al-Shabaab had been forced to change tactics following the upsurge in airstrikes. The institute said the group was now conducting fewer mass attacks on military bases, but attacks on government offices and businesses which refused to pay its taxes had increased markedly. The United States State Department, in its most recent report on terrorism, described Somalia as a terrorist safe haven and said Al-Shabaab remained a threat. Despite suffering setbacks, the group retained control over large parts of the country and the ability to carry out high-profile attacks using suicide bombers, explosive devices, mortars, and small arms. The report added, 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with cords to their necks, the country's interior ministry said. Both bodies were found near the town of Imleo in the High Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Tepco. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths, the Interior Ministry statement said. A popular tourist attraction has become the latest Chinese company to show solidarity with Huawei's chief finance officer, Meng Wanzhou, who was arrested in Canada on 1 December. Shannon Mountain Scenic Park, in eastern Hainan province said it would waive the $9.65 yuan ticket fee for anyone carrying a Huawei phone. Ms. Meng, who was given bail in Canada, faces extradition to the United States on charges of breaking Iran sanctions. Her case has upped tensions with China. Use Huawei phones. Shoot grand photos on the mountain. A notice on the Shannon Park's social media account said, "We wish friends around the world who support Huawei's success and bliss." The offer would last until 29 December. The South China Morning Post reported, but it was met with some criticism among China's social media users, who claimed it was discriminatory. Huawei phone owners are being offered other enticements too. They can get a 20% discount at a bar in Beijing. Seen in Beijing, Bring a Huawei phone and get 20% off. Similar to this story we covered yesterday, https://QQXL19YPQLPIC. Twitter. Sokolov. End of Twitter post by @LuOceanG. At least one firm has threatened to penalize anyone buying Apple products. A few days ago, Manpad Shenzhen-based LED and display manufacturer offered subsidies to any employees buying Huawei phones. It also pledged to fine anyone who bought an Apple iPhone. United States prosecutors alleged Ms. Man
46
used a Huawei subsidiary called Skycom to evade sanctions on Iran between 2009 and 2014. They also alleged she publicly misrepresented Skycom as being a separate company from Huawei, and that she deceived banks about the true relationship between the two companies.